are very glad that you could join us from wherever you are watching us from. This is Woman 360. Now, in today's world, you can say technology is taking over. It's in every aspect of different aspects of life. But then when you look at it in terms of information technology, where that information is coming from, how it is reaching you, who has sent it, there is a yes, it's true. No, it isn't true. But then there are also things that are happening in today's life that are unbelievable but are true. When we look at what has been happening recently via social media, we've been seeing a lot of videos, a lot of pictures that really come to question the morality of Zambia, the morality of Africa, and humans as we are today. There are so many aspects, but in the center of some of the recent ones is the church. You talk about infidelity. You talk about money, power, influence, the love of that. Is it really the root of all evil? We are talking about that and more on the program today. I'm very glad I have two reverends in studio. I'm so happy that we can now feel the Holy Spirit all over. So we have Reverend Panji Chipeta coming from the Kingdom Business Ministries, and we have Reverend Walter Mambazi coming from Destiny Peak Pro. Thank you so much for coming through, gentlemen.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, ma'am.
No, it's our honor as well. Yes. Now, social media is also in the church. Information technology is also in the church. I see men of God with, you know, a lot of tablets, no more the real Bible and all that. So it's globalization coming through to Africa. But when you talk of the thin line, morals, moving with time, there's a thin line there. So I'll start with this one. How easy is it, or how difficult is it to be a man of influence, to be a man of power who stands at the pulpit and have a flock that believes whatever you say? But if that man starts guiding me to another light and I won't see it, any of you can take it.
Rev, start.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here again.
Thank you so much.
That's a very relevant topic for our time today. And I think one of the things that I've always come to grips with is the fact that you know, character becomes the key issue. I must lead by example as a pastor, as a leader of this flock. I must be an example in everything that I do. It's quite sad, as you've already alluded to, the fact that what we see now on social media and, you know, this issue of pastors sending pictures with their female girls in the church and, you know, almost like porn videos that are being exchanged. It's actually something that borders on character. And many times you also discover that it's because the very pastor may never have dealt with his own issues before coming to deal with issues of other people. There's no two ways about it. And it's important also for pastors in our time as well to be accountable to somebody else. And most of the people that are doing these kinds of things, they're not accountable to anybody. I believe in spiritual fatherhood, where I'm accountable to a father. My spiritual father is, for instance, Apostle Eddie Chansa. And should I do anything silly like that, and he gets wind of it, he should be able to come and sit me down or, you know, spank me in a certain way or things like that. But you see that most of the people today do not have spiritual fathers. They are leaders all by themselves. They're accountable to themselves and nobody to report to. So issues of character are infringed on so many times. And we don't have anybody, or even some of these church members have got nobody to run to. Do these people even in the church know who your spiritual father is? That should anything happen within the church, they can run to that person and say this. Technology, as you've said, it is so good and makes things easy for us. But it can also have its own disadvantages that we need to be very careful of and have boundaries, so to say.
Has this always been happening, or we're just getting wind of it, aided by, you know, the use of technology coming through to open up this Pandora's box, which maybe happened in this church and it was stamped on, happened in this environmental situation and it was, you know, just swept under the carpet?
Well, truth be told, since the inception of the church, literally from the time of the apostles, we see that there's always been these issues. That's why there are so many letters that would warn. One of the most preeminent are the letter by John, where he warns about the Gnostics, because by then that was a very strong cult. And then there were those that used to follow John the Baptist, and they were of the baptism, but had not known about this transition. So there's always these groups of people, very, very, I mean, you know, the Bible in the book of Revelation speaks about a number of groups like the Nicolaitans. So there's always funny people throughout history. The only thing is that now, with technology, news is traveling faster. But I must also hasten to say something about pastors and about Christians in general. The greatest danger we face today in this country is that now we have a generation of Christians that have grown up under the Christian nation cover. Now, that's a great thing. I'll never take anything away from that. But what that's done is it has created literally a situation where we have what we call cultural Christians. I call them churchians. So churchians, for all intents and purposes, are quote unquote Christian, but they're not real Christians. They grew up in a culture of Christianity. They are around people that speak a Christian language. They grow in a church. They are raised in that circle. So they come to learn and become familiar with this, but they never themselves underwent the true transforming knowledge of knowing Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And some of these people go on to even become, you know, clergy. So you can imagine a person that doesn't know Jesus, that has not been impacted by the Word of God, that has not had the transformative power of the Holy Spirit in their life working, but they are, for lack of a better word, an imposter, posing and looking for all intents and purposes like a Christian because they know the language, they know the lingo, they know the terms, they know that they can play it out because this has been their culture. But in reality, they are not real. So this is what we're seeing, because there's no way, in my opinion, any genuine man of God who calls themselves a pastor can even dare to send messages like that with their, you know, flock.
Just to add to that, one thing that I've encountered, I counsel people every Thursday. It's a day that I counsel. In my encounters, I have had people that have come and mentioned names of well-known people that would say these have been Christians for so long, and we look up to them and so on and so forth. They tell me, look, this man slept with me, this man did this, and so on and so forth. So it becomes really critical at this point and say, where have we gone wrong?
Exactly,
can we become real with these issues and say, can we address where the problem is?
Yes, because
you discover that from what Pastor Water is saying, is that some of those that have been in the Lord for a long time, I don't know whether it's maybe fatigue or tiredness. You know, we come to a place now.
What's the midlife crisis in the church called?
You know, so
Good
so
point.
exactly.
We're trying to figure
so
out.
you find that now people like that, you know, kind of begin to throw their guards, you know, and begin to get to join the so-called bandwagon now, where everybody's doing these things. But the Bible is clear. God is looking for a remnant, you know, and I believe that even in these end times, that's why people must be careful when they are on social media, not to judge everybody and just put this as a blanket thing on every pastor. And some people I know have stopped even going to church. And they say, look, what's the point of going to church when things like this are being done by pastors? The video that I was sent, you know, that where a pastor is teaching orgasm to these women. And first of all, I stood there, I was like, what are these women doing with this man? Why are they allowing this man, whether he's a pastor or not, which to me looks like he's an imposter, like I was saying. Those are not really true, genuine men of God. I mean, what would they be doing with a man like that? Paul actually says this, that some of these things we even talk amongst us must never even be mentioned. They are so disgusting that they must never even be brought up.
They're not even named among
exactly.
the
Unbelievers.
I get to think, what then is the church doing? Because yes, this is a problem that has come through with coming to light via technology. But in the Bible, we have examples, situations, and, you know, just advances that men have made or created situations that women become vulnerable, or so to say. You know, King David, Moab, sleeping with somebody at the altar in the church. We have Solomon, well, we all know of his plenty women. We have Ammon sleeping with his own sister.
Thank you. Now, all those things, quickly, Judy, those things have got backgrounds. When you talk about Moab, for instance, Moab, what does the word Moab mean? Is which father is this, or which father are you? Meaning that these are guys that were born out of incest themselves. Now, you discover that these backgrounds play a major role on us. If you heard me earlier on, I said, if a pastor is coming from a background where, for instance, was struggling with pornography and he doesn't deal with it properly and he gets to pastor and is in a church, that will not just go like that. And this is why we differ. This is why some of us people differ, those who don't believe in deliverance. Because they say, oh, once saved, always served. You're a new creation. All things pass away and all things become new.
It's an ongoing work.
Can you imagine that?
Watering of water by the word.
There's this issue of The clergy nowadays are talking about money too much, but now there's the issue of morality.
Exactly.
How is the church coming in with this message to push in such messages of yes, this is happening, it's been happening? How do we kill it?
But I'll tell you, Judy, this is really, and I mean, Pastor Reverend Panji just alluded to it. The challenge that we're in is we're at a time when the onslaught of the enemy is at overdrive.
Or maybe are we being judgmental? Maybe they're only
Not at all,
human.
not at all.
There's the issue
Listen,
of
Judy,
do what I
No. The Bible is
say
clear.
and not what I do.
The Bible is clear. It says the heart of man is desperately wicked.
Yes.
Who can know it except God? You discover all these things are coming because of what man really is on the inside. It's coming out now. That's why I said, before I become a pastor, before you become this broadcaster, I've heard people say, well, journalists are loose people. If you're a woman, they'll say they are loose people. No. You are not loose. You know, in fact, you're not loose because you became a journalist, but because it was already in you, you never dealt with it.
Yeah.
So I don't become loose because I've become a pastor and I'm before these people here. No, it was already in me that I should have dealt with earlier on. And I think the key thing now for us is to get to a level where, you know, we have serious set rules even within our churches in terms of discipline. That's why I say it again, we have people that are not accountable to anybody. What do we do in a pastor like that? We've heard Chibolia, the pastor that did things, and we've heard so many things happening. What do? We have got 3 mother bodies today. What do our 3 mother bodies do in situations like this? And of course, if someone affiliates with them, it gives them power, of course, to be able to discipline a pastor like that, make him sit down. And, you know, there are so many examples we would have given on this platform. But like you're saying here, because of time, we'll make sure that we keep them. But I have been in a position where through counseling, somebody tells me something, and because I know these people, I've approached certain bishops, certain apostles, we have sat down and said, your son did this, and think he needs to be helped. They need to be disciplined. I will not go about gossiping them and saying this is what they've done. I will go to their father. That's what becomes easy when there's a spiritual father.
Correct.
So basically, I think we must get back to actual discipline in the church. Not really where we kill people. We have got weaknesses. We have people that are not as strong. But even at that point, we must be hard and not really, you know, the Bible says we must be as cunning as a serpent, but as harmless as a dove.
If a woman had to come and approach you, because one of my comments from Facebook where I'm getting this is talking about how women nowadays are very aggressive. They won't say, no, these two are reverends, or Reverend Water is a man of God, I will just sit. They're forward and like that. So how then does a person handle that?
This is why good men of God who have some sense in their heads are supposed to move with what I call protection. And that sounds wrong. But what I mean literally is you surround yourself with people so that occasions for accusations are minimized. If you have a wife and you operate closely in ministry, that's wise. If you've got young men, if you're a man, or young women, or women if you're a woman, and you move with these all the time, it really eliminates an opportunity for such things to happen, because nobody can raise an accusation. But the problem is that we've got these, I call them cowboys really, that run around, you know, hanging around, being very inappropriate with all these young ladies. And it doesn't matter how strong you are. If you're going to be, you know, exposing yourself to situations and then somebody pulls a move on you like that, you're definitely likely to fall. So the best way is you protect yourself by ensuring that you are with accountability people at all times, especially as a man of God.
Discipline and boundaries. I must hug, even hugging, I must hug a daughter in the church a certain way.
Yes.
And not really go beyond. I must chat and laugh and joke with them a certain way. We are social beings, for God's sake. But all we're saying is that there must be boundaries. There must be, you know, a balance. And, you know, I think it's key for us to get to a level where we begin to understand. We cannot run away from the fact that these people want to associate with you as their pastor. They want, but there comes that place now that becomes a gray area where now people begin to slip. I mean, you counsel people that have got issues in their homes. And that's why some of these guys are taking advantage, because I know which doctors are doing it today. I'm just dealing with one right now. There's a lady who has just become born again in our church, a prostitute. Last Sunday, she stood before the church, and she narrates the story how a witch doctor slept with her and all her friends in the house. And you see this kind of spirit coming into some of these pastors in the church, because now say, I'm going to take out the spirit, the bad spirit that is in you, and it's going to come on me, and God will deal with it when it comes to me. Now, Surely, even just a normal human being must know, number one, nobody's allowed to see your nakedness other than your husband or your wife. So by the time this person begins to say things like that, that's enough,
red flags.
Yes, red flags for it to run away. Yeah?
The church is really in trouble because
We're in a
even though
mess.
this
We're
is
in a mess.
this is
But again, sorry to say, but again, we need to be balanced. Like he said rightly, there are some people who are imposters. They're coming to make the name of the church bad. It's like some of these brands, juices, drinks and all. We've seen some of them on Facebook nowadays where someone says there's this bad about this drink and so on. And maybe that's part of their market strategy, making each other's brand bad and so on. And there are people today, I mean, it may not be everybody. Yeah. There are people today that are just wanting to dent the church. Yeah. And they want to make the church really bad.
They have
it's not exactly. Yeah. It's not every pastor who is wrong.
This one is for another topic, but what happened also recently, the man who was dressed as a woman goes to church. I don't know, she has been in the choir. That's another topic for another day. But see, all those things coming down to church, the work that is going to have to be done.
May the Lord help
but
us.
with your last comments, you've definitely given hope, and at least you can tell that in as much as these things are happening, there's people who are also trying to correct the situation.
And that's my issue right now, that you see, as a church, we must realize church is a hospital. Church is almost like a clinic. People come to be made well. In fact, Jesus himself said, I didn't come for the people that were okay.
You know what I mean?
He came for the hurting. He came for the wounded. Now, if the church is the one that is wounding people, where will the people run to?
Wounding in the name of healing.
Come on. That's absurd, and we must condemn it in strongest possible way. We can't condemn
Reverend Pat Dichupeta and Reverend Walter Mwambazi coming through to give us their take on this issue. Money power, is it the root of all evil? What is happening to the church? What is happening to the morals in the church, and what is really going on? But then they've given us their take. Very interesting discussion that we've had. You're watching Woman 360. You are watching Woman 360. Be part of the conversation by going to our Facebook page, Woman 360. Like it and give us your thoughts. Let's have the program both online and right here in studio. I was talking to the clergy, and now we're getting to a life coach. We have Emmanuel Mukula, who's going to also give us his take on our topic today. We are talking morals, we are talking immorality, we are talking power, money, influence, on what we call the root of all evil. Is it or is it not? Thank you so much for coming through to Woman 360. How are you?
Thank you so much, Judy. I'm fine. I'm so glad you could have me. I'm so grateful.
We're also very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So it's like social media is a place where everyone vents, everyone airs out their views, but then there are those other small segments that are a bit private, but in essence are not private because we get to see some of the things we were not supposed to see. And when you talk about its relevance, its proper use, its branding power, and the way it's being used right now, especially if we lean more to women, what would you say about that in terms of you being a life coach?
Okay, Judy, I must say that it's becoming extremely disappointing, pretty disheartening to actually see that we have a lot of people that are actually using that badly. The truth of the matter is that, you see, you could actually have a lot of people try and accuse social media as, they would talk about how that, it's promoting a lot of promiscuity, it's promoting a lot of prostitution, there's a lot of cheating even in marriages and all. People will actually give excuses and talk about and want to paint social media, black like that. But the truth of the matter is that all these things that we are actually talking about are things that have been there, or they've been there. From way back, these things have actually been there. The question is, how are you using it yourself? If you are a person that wants to cheat, of course, social media only makes it easier for you. It's not what is making you cheat. You were a cheat. You've only made it easier because now you actually have a tool. So there are also a lot of people that are actually using it very well. I have seen a lot of women, I've seen a lot of men that have actually started their businesses and they have grown them on social media. I have seen a lot of men that have grown their careers on social media. I am one of them. We use social media to market the products that we actually are selling in our organization, to do this and that. But the question is, how are people using this? This is not the problem. We are the problem.
I have a very interesting comment, or one of the comments that talking about if I send something with the notion of it being private,
Yes.
and then it's publicized, it's a
Okay.
different case altogether.
Yeah.
So someone cannot judge me on a message or a picture or a video I sent with the intent of it being private. What did you say to that one?
I will tell you what. One thing that we must make mention is that, you see, one of the things that we need to understand is that, you see, you cannot actually trust anybody. Okay. If you are talking about your partner, there are a lot of, people, sometimes they will even talk about how that, well, yes, I took a naked photo of myself and I only sent it to my partner. Well, a lot of things can actually happen to his phone. A lot of things can actually happen to her phone. It can be stolen. Okay, it can be stolen. Maybe there's no password. What happens? You actually have a situation where, it will actually be spreading all over. So how then can you actually prevent this from happening? You talk about how, firstly, how is this benefiting you? So I take a photo of, myself naked and I send it to, someone and I say, oh, they are my partner. So how is that, benefiting me? Why should a husband or a wife send a photo that is naked of themselves to their husband? Don't they see them? So for me, that is not actually making sense. And I feel that is something that just needs to be avoided. And the truth of the matter is that we actually have, there is so much that is actually happening right now. I'm actually hearing that there is this, pornography site that has actually come. This gentleman is asking people, ladies, to send videos to, him, and he's lying to them to say, I'll give you a 30,000 kwacha. I'll give you a 25,000 kwacha.
Money root of all
I am
evil.
yet to
Money
hear.
root of all evil.
I am yet to hear one actually say that, yes, I did actually get the 30,000. I'm yet to hear one say that I got the 25,000. All we are seeing is them being exposed and losing their respect. When you look at some of them even have children, unfortunately. Now, if, for instance, you actually have a child that is even 10, our son is actually 10, and I'm thinking he might, just go through social media and find that. How shameful. There is so much that is actually happening even in the church. The other day I was actually looking at one of the videos. I pray and I think, I pray and really hope that that is not actually, Zambian. This gentleman was actually saying, it was headed, you shall kiss them and they shall be healed. You understand? I feel that even when it comes to issues of Christianity, we've not really taken time to want to understand what the Bible actually talks about. We don't read the Bible ourselves, so it becomes very easy for other people to actually manipulate, people. And funny enough, you women have actually been the victims of this. How do you actually have a situation where someone is going to tell you, when I kiss you, you are going to actually be healed? This video is going around on social media, Judy. And I was looking at it and I was wondering to myself to say, okay, so is this man also, if healing is not only for women, so is he also going out to men and kissing them so that they actually get healed? It doesn't make sense. It's not actually adding up. Now, why then do we actually have a lot of this coming up? It's because we are busy calling ourselves Christians, but we've never really taken the time to understand.
Are women allowing themselves to be vulnerable in such situations?
Yes, women are actually allowing themselves to be vulnerable. And how are they allowing this? You see, knowledge is power. When you understand what it is that, when you understand how certain things are supposed to be done, it is very difficult for you to come to me and tell me, okay, this is how you behave as a journalist. If we've been to school together, I'm going to actually tell you, no, but you remember, this is what it is that is actually written. This is what we were actually taught. What are they even referring to? And what is even more sad is the fact that, you see, we Zambians actually have so many pastors that we can actually get to look up to. We've seen them start churches. We've seen them grow. We've seen them work hard. Those are the very people we've actually left. We have left them and we are busy running away to people where we hear, oh, there is a miracle. Oh, there is this. People are now even using snakes to bring out miracles. I
posed this question to the clergy earlier on. Very quickly, we'll actually have to wind up. Okay. My director keeps talking to me here. You're just talking about people who we've seen. What if this lady has been in this church for years and she has so much faith in this pastor, and the pastor is the one who's telling her to do some of these things? How then does that vulnerability get helped?
Okay, so this person has actually been in this church for a very long time, and then the same person is the one that is actually doing that
maybe
to them.
Has gone through what I was telling. What is that midlife crisis they are going through? Which
which has made
swept.
a good. I'll tell you what. It really, it's about It's about knowing the truth. When you know the truth, even if I love to actually give examples to certain people that maybe grow up in a home where you actually have maybe a cruel mother, okay? You know that you will actually be able to tell that, yes, I need to listen to my mother with everything that she actually tells me. But as you grow up and you start to understand, you will know that, yes, Judy is my mother, but there are certain things that she's now saying that do not actually make sense.
Emmanuel Mkula, ladies and gentlemen, he has been our life coach for today. Go to our Facebook page, Woman360. Let's continue chatting on this issue. But for now, in studio, the conversation ends right here. On behalf of the entire production crew, this is Judy Ngulube.